Hi, I'm Boy. I'm an Iron Man player who just hit Eternity, and I wanted to share my knowledge on Iron Man with the rest of the world. As one of the few people who plays Iron Man from upper Celestial to top 500, there aren't that many Iron Man players. I just wanted to give you a look at my profile, and you can see I primarily played Iron Man. Hawkeye was my backup if things really weren't working, or if Iron Man got banned. But you can see it's like almost all Iron Man gameplay. And then if we look at my tracker here, this is my tracker. You can see I have about a 64% win rate on Iron Man and a 59% win rate overall, and it took me about 239 matches to get to Eternity. So the first part of this is going to be ability tips. I'm assuming you know all of Iron Man's abilities, but I will be giving some more in-depth tips and how to use each ability effectively. So beginning with the basic left click, which is Repulsor Blast. This is going to be your main poke tool. So you're going to be throwing this at choke points and at the enemy supports, trying to get some chip damage in and build your ultimate. You can use this to pressure enemies while staying safe and behind cover, because you can strafe in and out of cover while letting out repulsor blasts, unlike the Unibeam. A big tip for this is to try and use it to chip at supports that need to use an ability to heal themselves. Think Luna Snow's shift, their clap, right? She can't heal herself without using that ability, so if you constantly pressure her and do a little bit of chip damage, 20 damage, 20 damage, 20 damage, she's going to have to use that clap eventually, or get healed by her other fellow support. If you hit direct hits, it's slightly more DPS than the base Unibeam, the non-Overdrive Unibeam, I believe. That doesn't really come into effect that often unless the enemy is stunned, or like in a Doctor Strange hold, it's pretty good to use. But other than that, Repulsor Blast is just used for poke, and maybe finishing off people who are out of your Unibeam range. Speaking of the Unibeam, Unibeam is going to be your bread and butter. You're going to be using that a lot of the time. One big thing a lot of people don't know is that the Unibeam actually pierces enemies, so you can get a lot of extra DPS that way. And you could both damage the tank and the support a lot of the time, if you're low enough. So it is good to be around floor level, so you can get piercing sometimes, especially in choke points. Most of the time you will be shooting the tanks to build ult with your Unibeam, but if a squishy is in your range, it's almost always better to shoot them instead, because you do a lot more consistent damage than, let's say, Punisher, because Punisher has to reload after like shooting like 30 bullets. But the Unibeam, you could just keep beaming for a really long time, so it's a lot of pressure that you can put on squishies. The next ability is going to be Hyper Velocity. This is the ability that by default is a toggle. When you press left shift, you will fly around. It's a good mobility tool, obviously. It means you can get back to the fight faster than most other heroes. So what this means is that if you go 1-for-1 with a high value target like a support that has their ult up, if you kill them and then you die, you will typically get back to the fight sooner because you can fly. You can use this ability to duck down under cover really fast with it. You aim your camera straight down and you press shift. And another thing is that it makes noise, so if you're trying to flank with this ability, you will get heard, and people will turn their heads and try and shoot you. Next up on the list is Armor Overdrive, which is the E, and that essentially enhances all of his abilities, right? And you want to use this, I would say, when fights break out, or you can choose to hold it for a little bit and see if any of the supports or the DPS will overextend and walk into your Unibeam range, and then you can pop the Armor Overdrive. Important to note that the Unibeam gets buffed a lot more than your repulsors, so you can use the Unibeam. If you can use the Unibeam, try and use the Unibeam. And even if there are no squishies in range, just shoot the tank. If you're shooting a Groot, you're going to be building ult charge super fast. So shoot anything in range. When you activate it, it makes a really loud, like, metal noise, and everyone's just going to turn their head to you, essentially. So if you're trying to use it to flank, it might be a little hard. But in the next season, in season 2, it will give you 100 shield right after the animation finishes and once you start shooting. So maybe flanking and taking off angles will be safer, but you can't really sneak up with it because it makes a lot of noise. With the 100 shield, you can actually pop it before you use your ult, so that you have 350 health when you're in your ult, so hopefully you don't get shot out of it. And then the biggest thing about this ability is that you need to pay attention to the timer, because you actually get stuck in an animation. If the timer runs out and you're flying, you get stuck in an animation and can't do anything, and then you become a sitting duck and die. It pulls you out of your hyper velocity. So really be careful and be aware of when your thing is going to end, or when your overdrive is going to end. Next up we have probably the most useless ability in the game, I'm going to be honest. It's Micro Missile Barrage. It's mostly useless. You can only use it when you're in hypervelocity or if you're in overdrive, and it's just like, it does no damage at all. Sometimes I use it to break terrain when in hypervelocity, or you can just use it to try and build ult charge, just do a little bit of damage. But other than that, it's not that useful. You could really play Iron Man without ever using it once. So the next part is the ultimate, and using Iron Man's ultimate well separates good Iron Man players from great Iron Man players. And I myself am still working on it, but what I've learned is that it's obviously a risky ult. Essentially just get locked in the air and everyone gets free shots on you for a little bit, but it does charge super fast. It's one of the fastest charging ults in the game, so you can really farm that ult, and you can get a lot of them off in a game if you're doing a lot of damage. You could obviously one-shot supports, but for tips on that, for Cloak and Dagger is probably the easiest for you to hit. It's either Cloak and Dagger or Luna, I would say, but Cloak and Dagger is really easy because you wait for her to do 3 of the 4 dashes, and then after she finishes the 3rd dash, you press Q, and then see where she dashes as a 4th dash, and then you could just aim it. Like, she can't even cloak it. It's usually a guaranteed kill. You should try and coordinate using your ult with your Magneto if you have a Magneto, because a lot of the time Magnetos will try and ult the Cloak and Dagger ult. So you can say, hey, I'll kill the Luna Snow, and Magneto, you can kill the Cloak and Dagger. Stuff like that. Communication like that just avoids situations where both of you will use your ult on the same support, and one of them will get wasted, so that's really important. Another thing with Magneto is that he can bubble you while you're in your ult. So communicate that you're about to ult, or looking for an ultimate, and then ask for a bubble, because a lot of Magnetos will do that. Apart from killing supports with your ult, there's a lot of other uses for it, such as tempo, which essentially means that you want to keep the cart moving or get an opening pick to win the fight early, to secure a capture point, some stuff like that, because the ult is really good for that, because you can guarantee a kill. Don't underestimate killing the tank or killing a tank, because if a tank dies, a lot of the time the team will just fall apart. So if you one-shot one of those tanks in the front line, it opens up the fight a lot. You can also use it to bait Magneto ult out a lot, because a lot of Magnetos will, when they hear maximum pulse, they will just press their ult immediately. So you can use your ult to bait out Magneto ult, so that the Magneto can't kill, let's say, your Cloak and Dagger who wants to ult. Right, so your Cloak and Dagger gets a free ult off at the cost of your ult being wasted, essentially. You could also combo it with other ults, like Strange or Groot. Be careful with Groot ult, because Doctor Strange and Magneto can still put up their shields when they're sucked in by your teammate's Groot ult. So you gotta shoot it at the ground, don't shoot it directly at them. You could also shoot it after Mag Shield expires, or when Doctor Strange shield breaks, because obviously they won't have their shield up. You could almost guarantee getting the ult off if you do it in a friendly support ult. The best one for this is Invisible Woman, because the healing field goes all the way up, so you just fly really high into the ult, and then maximum pulse straight down onto whatever poor soul you have your eyes set on. But you should watch out, because if they have a Magneto and he has ultimate, he will just suck it up into his big metal ball, and then he'll dunk your Invisible Woman, which is really bad because he essentially canceled out 2 ults. So you gotta be really careful about that. So if you know Magneto doesn't have ult, yeah, just go for it, rip it. Another small thing is that you could shoot it through the enemy Doctor Strange portals if they're trying to portal back to point. Typically the Doctor Strange will jump through first. So if you shoot it right through that portal, usually you can get like a pick or two people who are like waiting their turn to get through the portal. Hopefully I have a clip of that, because I have a couple clips of that. And the last thing, as part of the abilities, is going to be the Gamma team up with Hulk. So Gamma used to be really OP, and people are still kind of riding that high. People still think it's really busted with Iron Man, but it's not really that busted anymore because they kind of gutted it. This means a lot of people will play Hulk just to give you Gamma. Like if they see you playing Iron Man, they're just gonna swap to Hulk, even if they don't play Hulk or good at it at all. So they could be really bad at Hulk, but they'll still play it because they think the team up is really good. So you could always very nicely let them know that, hey, you can play whatever you're comfortable on. You don't have to play Hulk for me because the Gamma Charges isn't good anymore. Or, well, it's okay. It's not amazing, but you can definitely live without it. What it used to be was the Overdrive used to do 180 DPS, and then when you did Gamma Overdrive, it was 220. But now, after the nerf with Season 1.5, they buffed regular Overdrive to 190, and then made the Gamma 200. So it's actually only a 5% damage increase now, which is not that much anymore. And with that, there's all the abilities gone over. Hopefully you learned one or two things you didn't know before, and I hope you find some of these tips useful on your Iron Man journey. This will be part 1 of a series on how to play Iron Man, so if you want to learn more, the next 2 videos I have planned are about general playstyle tips, like positioning and movement, and tips for hero matchups. If you're interested in any of those topics, or you just want to learn how to improve on Iron Man, you should definitely subscribe so you won't miss out. Anyways, thanks for watching. Happy Iron Manning.